Good morning. Well, it is morning at the time of recording this. We're currently at 18 minutes past 4. Apologise for the bit of poor light if it is a little bit on the dark side. It's a bit overcast this morning. We've had some rain during the night, so that's why it's a bit darker. It'll probably get lighter as we go along. Right, today just want to have a little chat about sort of goals, really, and intermittent fasting. The reason why I'm talking about intermittent fasting is I have put on a little bit of weight over the last year. I did quite a bit of running last year, and it hasn't fallen off the way. Well, it has, but this is mostly just due to other factors that are going on and time constraints and with me being neurodivergent, my energy levels I've been using them a bit more than normal, to be honest, I think. So that's probably one of the reasons. So yeah, I'm now that Jess is hopefully on the mend a bit, and the stresses and the energy drains of that, which are still there, but not as intense. So, I've decided to kick my backside and try and lose a bit of weight and just get moving a bit more. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, so don't. This is my own views and what I do. I've done intermittent fasting before, and it's yeah, I don't mind it. It's okay. You obviously my window, because of the way my shift works and the way my day works. So my eating window is between 11 and 7 p.m. or 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. So from 7 p.m. on a night, I basically don't take any calories. I can have black coffee. Some might say there's a few calories in it, but it's not a lot. And I also, while I'm doing that, like to exercise in the morning, because if I'm walking, in theory, I'm burning off fat calories more than food calories because I haven't had anything to eat. Now, some people say that, it's not safe to do this and everything else, but I think you've got to use common sense. If your stomach, your body is used to being fed at 8 o'clock in the morning, then that's what it will want. That's what it'll be saying. But that doesn't mean you have to. Now, the way I will break a fast if, I start to go weak, lightheaded, or anything like that, then I will break a fast. It's only sensible. Your body's then trying to tell you something, and that's fine, absolutely fine. And if you have to break it one day because that's how you feel, there's nothing wrong with that. Just do it, and then just next day, if you can, just go back into your fast again. It's not a set in stone. You don't have to, and if you've never done it before, try a smaller window to start with. I'm doing like 16 hours of not, fasting. If you're new to it, don't do 16 hours, just cut it down. Do 12 and then build it up. But a lot of people I've spoken to in the past said, I couldn't do that. Now, kind of want to, this is where goals come into it, because when people say to me they can't do something, that kind of says to me that they don't want to, and that's fine if they really don't want to. If they don't want to do fasting, that's fine. If they don't want to achieve whatever, that's fine. But if you want to achieve something, if you think, I want to achieve that, I want to do that, then you've got to start with one small step, and there's only one small step you can take, and that's on the day to day. I always say this to, even if you're going on a diet, don't try and change everything in one go. Little steps. In sort of running, people think, oh, I'm going to run because I need to lose weight. Yeah, brilliant. But can you walk that 5k first? Ask yourself them questions. Because if you can't walk it, then you're not going to run it, are you? So small steps. If you can't walk 5k or you get really out of breath walking 5k, there's nothing wrong with that. Just start walking and just build it up. But there's only one way to start, and that's now. I don't mean in today, because that's the only way to do anything. If you're saving money, the only way to do it is start today. Start with whatever you've got and build it. Because, and that's the other thing, don't look too far in the future, because that can dishearten you, I find. I just think that you need to start today with what you've got, with it, if it's your weight or your fitness, whatever goal, it's when you buy a house and you get a mortgage, you've done something today, but it's going to take time to pay it off, isn't it? And then we look too far in the future and think, oh, when I've paid this off, when I've paid off. When actually, if we just live for today, then we will naturally build. And it's the same with weight loss. Everyone's at different stages in that goal. So I don't, this isn't a one-fit-all situation, and I don't expect to do. And I understand that people have disabilities, and I understand people have health problems. I can't speak for everyone, and that's a fact. So, but you're you, and you can change, even if it's a small part. Only you can do it. And going back to running, I was never a runner. And I never planned to run. I had some issues with my legs, and I went back towards, I've always had issues with my legs, and I think I know a reason why for that now, but it's probably the neurodiversity side of things. So there was only one way to fix them legs in my eyes and my world, and that was to walk it. That was to get going. That was to do something. And I started, and I really struggled at first walking because of the pain. But I persevered, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. Till there was one point actually because of my job at lunchtime, I was going for walks. I was going for walks as often as I could. And there was one chap actually stopped me, and he said, you know what? He says, you must be doing something right, because he says, your walking gait is getting better and better. And he'd been watching me, and I think that's brilliant. I've got no problem with that, because it just gave me that insight that from an outside point of view, I was getting better. I was doing the right thing. And this took time. It really took time. And I just kept going, and people would probably think I'm a bit odd, every lunchtime walking around the same route every day, but that's the way it was. I had to do it. And move on, I would say probably a year. I started, because I was walking that fast, because I kept going and kept going. I just gradually went into a run, and I ran between 2 or 3 lampposts, and I was knackered, actually knackered. I was puffing and going on. So then I decided, right, treadmill. Got myself a treadmill. I started losing some of the weight, by the way, because I was up at that stage. I was up to 15 stone now. To some people, I might think 15 stone's not a great lot, but for my body and shape, it was. So it just proved that I was out of shape. So I got myself a treadmill, and I managed to get to about I think the first run, well, I managed to get so I could run a kilometre, and I was capped to bits with that, absolutely capped to bits. And then that moved on to 2 kilometres, and as you can imagine, it went on until I could actually run a 10k. Now, I never set out to run a 10k. I never set out to run. This is my point. I wasn't setting that as a goal as such because it wasn't there. I didn't know I was going to do that. So what I'm getting at is just if you're going to change something and if you're going to improve your fitness, don't look too far ahead. Don't don't compare yourself to what somebody else is. If you're losing weight, don't compare yourself and think, oh, I want to be like that, because I think that might just dishearten you. I think it's just the wrong way of doing it in my book. What you got to look at is the present moment and think to yourself, okay, I need to do something here. And then just change one thing. I say this to people when they go on a diet. Don't just go on the supermarket and change your diet fully in one go, because it's too much. In theory, I think you're much better, when you go shopping and you've got that great big bag of multi-pack crisps, for example. Everyone's different. Example. Just put it back and buy something more healthier. And then it'll become a habit not to pick up that big bag of crisps, that multi-pack. I'm just giving an example, it's... But if you go in and change everything, I think it's just too much. It's the same with, like I say, exercise. You don't have to start with join this, join clubs, join everything. You can do it yourself and just change one thing at a time. And you'll get there, and you'll be surprised, because you haven't had to change, because humans work off habits. Me getting up in the morning, going to work as I am now, is a habit, isn't it? It becomes a habit. It becomes just something we do. And habits take a little bit of time to change. And if we change too many habits in one go, it's difficult. It becomes overwhelming. It becomes too much. Give it some thought, because this goes with any goal. I think that you've got to just break it down and do one step at a time. If like me, I go for a walk in the morning. It's overcast today. It's supposed to be raining. It isn't at the moment, and I might still go. I don't like getting soggy wet before work and being wet all day. I don't mind on the way home, but not on the way to work. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I don't have to force myself. But I like doing it. And then don't look at the end. Don't rush to the end of the walk or the end of the whatever you're doing, because you won't enjoy it, because you're rushing to get to the point of the end instead of bringing yourself back to the now and in the now. I mean, I go first thing in the morning because that's the time I like. The light's lower. It's not as harsh. It's quiet. The birds are singing. It's just peaceful. And when I'm walking, I enjoy that peace. I don't need headphones on. I don't need earplugs in at that time of the day, because I just enjoy the walk. And like I say, don't focus on the end. Same if you go to a gym, isn't it? I've got 50 reps of this to do. And then we're thinking about when we've done the 50 reps, instead of just doing each rep and one at a time. And before you know it, you'll be at 50 and you've not even thought about it. It's just a different my way of looking at it. And you'll get people saying, well, I can't run. And some people, obviously, like I've said, the disabilities, health problems. Yes, there is some people. Every time I say this, somebody always says that. And I know they're there, and I've had my health problems and I've got mine. You have to work with that, which is fine. There's ways around things. I'm not saying that if you got CBD, whatever you want to call it, I've got that wrong, haven't I? But you've got to If only you can decide whether you're making an excuse not to do something. Only you can decide that. Only you can decide if you're making that excuse so you don't do it. That's up to you. If you're doing that, then that's up to you. That's fine. You do. This is, again, I'm not telling people what to do. You've got to want to do it. I think that's one of the biggest things. If you want to do something, if you want to change something, then you can. Or you can try. I mean, try. So that's just my theory on, it's like intermittent fasting. My stomach now is because sometimes, I'll get to this town and I'll have something to eat. But if I just change that habit, that sensation will go away. It's not a sensation of, I'm going to keel over, I'm going to die if I don't eat. It's not that sensation. It's just a normal body routine sensation. And because I've changed something, it knows I've changed it. And subconsciously I'll be thinking about it, where I need to change that. Then we'll get there. We'll get there. Again, looking ahead in the future, I'm not sat here wanting to have the slimmest body with a six-pack and everything else, because that would put too much pressure on myself. Instead, I'm just working on today. And today is day number 2 of being back on the fast. So that's how you do it. That's how I do it. One step, one day at a time. And then you will naturally just get there. In a year's time, you'll be thinking, right, yeah, I did well there. I've lost X amount of weight. I'm fitter. I'm more healthier. Yeah. I'm not perfect, by the way. I ain't perfect. So don't go too hard on yourself. I hear this. I have many conversations during the day of people saying, well, I can't. And I think we need to sort of change that and say, I'm going to try. If you can't walk a kilometre or a mile, whichever you want to call it, without getting out of breath, then just keep trying. Obviously, if you've got a health problem, speak to your doctor first. I'm talking about normal. What's normal? There isn't normal. I shouldn't use the word normal. There isn't normal, is there? But yeah. So it's one of those things. And if you haven't got time like me, I say I haven't got time. I get up earlier on the morning to make time. And a lot of people say, I can't get out of bed. If you want to, you will. Yeah. I stopped smoking. It was I think it was probably about 6 months before they brought in the stop smoking in pubs and clubs and what have you, public spaces. And that wasn't the reason I stopped. I actually stopped because it was starting to control my life. And anyone who smokes will probably understand what I'm saying. It takes over your life. It controls you. And I don't like that. I don't like things controlling my life. I like to control my life. So, and don't get me wrong, this was the second attempt. But I actually woke up and there was 18 cigarettes in the packet. And I woke up this morning and I walked out the house without them. Now, people did notice, but luckily they didn't say anything. They kind of thought, hang on a minute, it's not having a cigarette there. And yes, the first 3 days were difficult. But because I wanted to do this, I wanted to say goodbye to these things, I just persevered and just plowed through it. Because I wanted to. Really wanted to. And I did it. And Jane, my partner, it must have been probably about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, she says, can I get rid of these now? So yeah. So my point is, yeah, people say I haven't got the willpower. I think willpower comes with wanting to do it. If you want to lose some weight, I think you can probably do it. You know, the average person can probably do it. But we all slip back into habits, don't we? And I'm exactly the same. I'm exactly the same. I'd be lying if I wasn't. I'm just the same old average person who has habits. So that's my talk on that. And the intermittent fasting, I think, is a good way, in my personal opinion, of helping to lose weight. Because I'm not. If you eat, this is how I think of it. Might be wrong. If you eat, then you're burning those calories. You're not burning fat calories. And with an average good diet, you're fine. You're actually fine. You'll it won't be a problem. And again, it doesn't stop you. If you once a month you might go out with friends and have something to eat and a drink, and that doesn't stop you. It doesn't. You can still fast, and then if you're going out at 8 o'clock, say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night with friends, then fine, just break it. Just break it. But the next day, just say, okay, back on this again. Okay, the next day you've still broken it as such because of that window. But that's fine. Go out with your friends. It doesn't stop you. That's the good thing about this intermittent fasting. If one day you break it, it's not the world's not gonna end. You can still just get on with life. I've done it where I've gone with a running club, and then we've gone for a bacon butty, and I'm still in my window of fasting. And if I sat there without anything to eat while others were eating, it's a bit, well, it's not quite antisocial. Well, it is a little bit antisocial, isn't it? So I just break it. Simple as that. It's near enough. 11 o'clock's my window when I start eating. If it's 10 o'clock, okay, it's 10 o'clock. It's only an hour less. I'm getting it. Doesn't have to be set in stone. And because if you make it set in stone, it's too much. But as long as you're achieving whatever goal, the 16 hours, as long as you're achieving that most days, then that's fine. That should be fine. Okay, so that's my thoughts on achieving goals and just changing that mindset a bit of that you can if you want to, or you can try if you want to. I think that's and one step at a time. Actually, one step at a time. I need to eat more fruit, more vegetables, more, and I do. Totally agree, I do. I need to change some of the things too. I have too much processed food, to be honest, and we know the story about that. But my first thing is, let's get in a habit of intermittent fasting first, and then I can change other things slowly over time. Okay. Right, that is my thoughts on that. I've probably rabbled on enough. Hopefully it makes sense to you a bit. And we'll see how we go. I'm currently just over 14 stone, by the way. So if I can get back down to sort of 13, 12, 12 stone, just below 13 stone or 12 stone, 12 and a half, then I'll be happy with that. Starting to get that middle age spread. and my belly up. I know, again, people say, oh, well, if you get on it, you start doing sit-ups, start doing this, but isn't that just putting too much pressure on? Instead of just, let me just start with my intermediate fasting first. And then we can move forward again. Maybe start walking, maybe increase that walking. Maybe start running again. Who knows? But today, let's just do the intermittent fast. And let's set that as one goal. And then we can move on to the next. See what I'm getting at? Yeah, I'm not putting the pressure on, because if you put the pressure on, you'll fail. You'll fail. Or you'll sicken yourself. Or you'll overdo it. Yeah. Right. Have a good day all. And we will catch you very soon. Come back. And if you do like these videos, please do like, please do subscribe. It just keeps me motivated to make some more, because at the moment there's not a lot getting watched because it's a newish channel. And I'm just trying to keep myself motivated. Again, one small change, isn't it? Right. Have a good day. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.